The head of the CDC is pleading with Americans to, quote, hold on a little while longer as coronavirus cases rise in at least half of the country. Dr. Rochelle Walensky is urging everyone to follow protective measures as officials work to get more people fully vaccinated. Total infections in the U.S. are nearing 30.3 million, and the death toll now stands at more than 549,000. Mola Lenghi is in New York City with the latest.
Tonight, fourth wave fears.
I'm going to reflect on the recurring feeling I have of impending doom.
As cases continue to rise nationwide, blunt words from the head of the CDC.
So much reason for hope, but right now I'm scared. So I'm speaking today not necessarily as your CDC director, but as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, to ask you to just please hold on a little while longer.
Cases are up more than 10%, with hospitalizations on the rise. As life looks more like it did pre-pandemic in much of the country. 43 states have allowed most or all businesses to reopen, and 17 don't have mask mandates. This, as much of Europe is seeing another spike, and doctors say Paris hospitals are about to hit catastrophic overload.
The trajectory of the pandemic in the United States looks similar to many other countries in Europe. I'm calling on our elected officials to sound the alarm. We must work together now to prevent a fourth surge.
New Jersey now seeing the nation's largest spike in cases per capita.
We have to keep up the fight and to push back against our pandemic fatigue.
And Florida seeing reported cases of the more contagious UK variant, more than doubling just in the past 4 days. But there is some good news tonight. A new CDC study of healthcare workers showing the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are 90% effective after 2 doses and 80% effective after just 1, and that the vaccines can reduce asymptomatic infections. President Biden making an announcement today.
That is by April 19th, 3 weeks from today, 90% of adults, people over 18 and over, will be eligible to get vaccinated.
Meanwhile, as the death toll nears 550,000, a stunning admission from President Trump's former pandemic coordinator.
There were about 100,000 deaths that came from that original surge. All of the rest of them, in my mind, could have been mitigated or decreased substantially.
800 people a day get vaccinated here at Lenox Health in Manhattan, and beginning tomorrow, New Yorkers aged 30 and older will be eligible for their first dose. Last Friday, New York became the first state in the country to roll out a vaccine passport, which is basically a smartphone app that proves that you've been vaccinated, something the Biden administration says they're helping develop standards for nationwide. Elaine.
Mola Lenghi, thank you. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Uzma Syed joins me now. She's the director of the Antimicrobial Stewardship Center of Excellence at Good Samaritan Hospital Medical Center. Dr. Syed, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us. On Sunday, Dr. Anthony Fauci told Face the Nation that plateauing at such a high rate of infection is a, quote, risk. How concerned are you about another spike in cases?
Well, Elaine, it is quite concerning. You know, this has been the thing that we have been watching very closely all along, and we've been saying that it really is a race against the variants. We know that there are rising cases of the B117 variant and other variants of concern and variants of interest, and we know that these variants are more transmissible, which is why we are seeing a rise in cases throughout the country, especially in New Jersey, New York, Michigan, and we really, we just can't celebrate just yet. We just got to hang in there just a little bit longer and continue those good infection prevention measures. We are making so much progress, and it's really too early to just throw it all away.
Well, President Biden now says 90% of all American adults will be eligible for a coronavirus vaccine by April 19th. Will vaccines be enough to stop another surge?
Well, that's really our hope in this whole pandemic is, how quickly can we vaccinate majority of the population to really get ahead of these variants? And we are seeing remarkable progress. We're averaging about 2 to 3 million vaccines a day. We've heard that there's going to be an additional 33 million vaccines available in the next week. So this is great, great progress as we have more vaccines become available. We've got so many people, boots on the ground, really working hard from faith-based communities to all local public levels, really getting people educated on vaccinations, increasing vaccine access, allocation, and distribution. So we're making a lot of progress, but we still have to keep pushing forward till we get majority of the population vaccinated.
Well, the head of the CDC says she will speak to governors about not reopening states too quickly. What are some of the measures that you believe need to remain in place for the time being, and for how much longer?
Absolutely. We're in that home stretch now. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we do know that we have these really transmissible variants that are around. So we just don't want to celebrate and give it all up too quickly. So it's really important that we keep those masks mandates in place, that we keep some measures in place so that we can really get to that really good place, which is right around the corner as soon as we get people vaccinated, which is happening at increasing numbers every day. But it's just a matter of a few more weeks. If people can just hold in there for just a few more weeks, I think we'll be in a much better shape.
Well, the World Health Organization has been studying the origins of the pandemic. A draft of the report found the virus likely traveled from bats to another animal and then to humans. It says a lab leak is, quote, extremely unlikely. How common is this mode of transmission, and why is it important for the medical community to know where COVID-19 came from?
Well, that's a great question, Elaine. And, it's quite frustrating that more than a year into this pandemic, we still have so many unanswered questions about the origin of this coronavirus. These are some of the fundamental things that we need to know in science, and really to learn from this novel virus and to move forward, because, this will not be the last pandemic. So I really look forward to reading this report. And, I know there were several hypotheses that were put out there, and I think it's really important that we investigate this fully. There's a really plausible explanation that this coronavirus, which is, found in bats, has been transmitted with a spillover to humans from an intermediate host. The thing that we need to do is really investigate further, sample the wildlife around the areas, really look into the original people that had contracted the virus, and we need access to all this data. So I really am looking forward to reading this report, but I find it frustrating still that we don't have a lot of our questions are still unanswered more than a year into this pandemic.
Right, so many open questions at this point. Dr. Uzma Syed, Dr. Syed, thank you.
Good to be with you.